Can you believe it? The Detroit Lions play football in less than 24 hours from now, and you know what that means. Our preview videos are back, and obviously we play the Packers week 1, so it will be the Packers preview. We're going to be going over the injury report, the roster moves, and the roster moves that happened from this past week, because to be brutally honest with you, I haven't talked about them. So we're going to talk about them in today's video, and then we'll go over like stuff to look forward to, predictions and stuff like that, and then the video will be over. So let's go ahead and start off with the injury report, like what we always just start with. Now my voice sounds a little bit raspy this video. I've been sick for the past couple of days. That's why I did not talk about the Zadarius Smith video yesterday. Yeah, my voice was insanely raspy yesterday, so that's why I did not talk about it yesterday. It's a little bit better today. I feel better today, but that is the reason why if it sounds different. So the injury report, we have 3 players that are out. It is Jamarco Jones, ankle injury. He is out. He was limited Thursday. He practiced all Wednesday, was limited Thursday, and then did not practice at all Friday. We'll talk about him a little bit more later in the video. Trevor Nowoski has an elbow injury. He is out. That's a brutal blow to the special teams. Sione Vaki, another brutal blow to the special teams. Hamstring out. So that is arguably 2 of our best special team players are going to be out for this game. Now, luckily, none of these guys are going to make an impact unless if something crazy was to happen on either side of the ball. Jamarco Jones and Sione Vaki on offense and Trevor Nowoski on defense. None of those guys would have made that significant of an impact, if any, if they were active on game day. It's special teams that matter so much to those players. We drafted Sione Vaki to develop him at running back, but primarily because of how good of a special teamer he was. Trevor Nowoski, you know what he's going to do. The Lions love him. I really like him. I really like him because I think he's aggressive. He's an aggressive linebacker, and I also think he's a great depth linebacker, but he's also a phenomenal special team linebacker. Jamarco Jones being out, though, that really does suck. He probably, honestly, is the one that hurts the most out of all 3 of those guys. That is because also Dan Skipper, who is not on the 53-man roster, he did not practice all week with an injury this week. It's not disclosed what the injury is, but he did not practice all week because of an injury. So he did not get elevated. Spoiler, he did not get elevated in this game, which means Giovanni Manu is going to get the starting backup tackle. He is going to be the backup tackle for the Detroit Lions this week, which is not good if Taylor Decker Panay still goes down. Because Giovanni Manu, he has showed progress from last year, but he has not shown enough to be a reliable number 1 backup tackle. He has not shown that. So Jamarco Jones being out really, really hurts, and obviously, hopefully, Skipper's all right as well for another reason we'll go over here in a little bit. But the injury report overall, 3 players, not too bad, and they're not big players, but special teams, it could be a big blow this week against the Packers. Now let's go over the roster moves, and this is the reason why I said we'll talk about Jamarco Jones in a little bit. The Lions announced roster moves. They have placed tackle Jamarco Jones on injured reserve. He will be out for the next 4 games. That is unfortunate. Now, we are now at the point in the season, now that roster cuts have happened, now the practice squad and 53 men have been assembled, that when a player is placed on injured reserve, they are not out for the season. They are out for at least 4 games, a minimum of 4 games. So Jamarco Jones, doubt he'll be out for the season. We'll probably get an update either tomorrow after the game or Monday. Probably Monday is when we'll get an update, when Dan Campbell gets in front of the media. But Jamarco Jones with an ankle injury, it's not good that he went from full, in the 3 days of practice, that he went from full to limited to no participant in practice. That's not good for him, but hopefully it's not severe and he only does have to miss that 4 games. He's not a bad backup tackle. I don't know if he's a great backup tackle by any means, but he's definitely better than a guy like Giovanni Manu at this point in Manu's career. So, Jamarco Jones plays in injured reserve. It's unfortunate. Former 6th-round pick by Seattle. They also signed Jacob Saylors to the 53-man roster to take Jamarco Jones' place. And I really like this. I'm surprised by it, but Jacob Saylors showed a lot during the preseason and training camp as well, that he can be a running back, a 3rd running back 53 on the 53-man roster and make an impact on special teams and offense in this National Football League. He showed that during the preseason and training camp. So I absolutely love this for Jacob Saylors getting a shot. I would not be surprised tomorrow if he's playing a whole lot of special teams and making an impact. He'll probably do just as much as Sione Vaki when it comes to him, what position he's playing on special teams and how big of an impact he is. But I would not also be surprised if Jacob Saylors is doing kick returns tomorrow. He was doing that during the preseason. Will not be shocked if we see him doing that tomorrow. Sione Vaki does a little bit of that, but Jacob Sayers, I think, who showed more potential doing that. Do not be surprised if Jacob Sayers ends up doing kick returns tomorrow, and I would not mind that at all. When it comes to the offense, he'll probably at most get 1 or 2 carries. I don't even expect him to get a carry. He's going to be a great special team addition, though. But that does leave an interesting spot here with Sione Vaki being out. Does that mean that is not good news for Sione Vaki that Jacob Sayers is getting to the 53? Because you would think if Sione Vaki's injury is not bad, they would just elevate Sayers. They wouldn't sign him to the 53. So that does put a little bit of a scare for Sione Vaki up, in my opinion. But overall, if they're just doing this to be strategic and stuff like that, to make sure nobody picks Sayers off the practice squad, I don't know. Then I like it. But Sayers heads to the 53. They also elevated a linebacker, Anthony Pittman. This was the one elevation I expected the Lions to make going off the injury report. You can have 5 linebackers on your team, but with how much the Lions rely off their linebackers when it comes to special teams, I thought that Anthony Pittman was going to get elevated. Anthony Pittman is arguably just as good as Trevor Nowatzki when it comes to special teams, so I'm not surprised by this at all. Anthony Pittman also looked very good throughout the preseason. I thought he was a dark horse candidate to make the 53-man roster, so I do like that Anthony Pittman is getting elevated for this game. But that also means now the Lions have 3 players out for this game. Well, technically only 2 now since Marco Jones is placed on IR, so you're down to 51 on the game day roster. You have to have 48. The minimum you can, or the most you can have on game day active is 48. So you're down to 51 right now with Nowatzki and Sione Vaki out. So who are those other 3 players that are going to be inactive for the Detroit Lions as a healthy scratch? I really don't know. I assume it's probably going to be both the defensive tackles in Chris Smith and Tyler Lacey. And I expect it to probably be one of the safeties that we picked up, either Daniel Thomas or Thomas Harper, who the Lions also signed, who we'll talk about here in a minute. It's probably for sure going to be Chris Smith and Tyler Lacey, and then it's probably going to be one of the safeties. Maybe a guy like Shane Zosta could shockingly be a healthy scratch, and the Lions only roll with 2 tight ends, which is what I thought the Lions should have rolled with into the 53-man roster in general, but they did decide to head with 3, so maybe they do only go with 2 for game day. I don't know. But I expect it to be both the defensive tackles, Tyler Lacey and Chris Smith, and then one of the safeties. But let's go over the other roster moves here real quick. We'll just skim through these. Get them pulled up here. We'll just really roll through these because this is a couple days old news. We'll go over the first one that happened, which I think was this one. And that is that the Lions have signed defensive end Andre Carter to the practice squad. Andre Carter the second. Now, Andre Carter, I really like this signing. I really, really do. It's practice squad, but I think this guy can be a great depth piece. I really, really do believe that. Andre Carter has not really done much throughout the NFL thus far, but it's crazy because if you remember his draft stock, his draft profile, and everything like that, him coming out of the draft, in his junior season, he was expected to be a first-round pick, all right? And I'm not just saying that like, just because he's a first-round pick is why I'm so high on him here. No, I watched his film. I loved him coming out of draft. I didn't just watch his film. I watched his film 2 years ago when he was coming out of draft. I loved it. He was one of my most underrated favorite defensive ends coming out of that draft class in 2023. I absolutely loved his film. His junior season was also phenomenal, so I was projected to be a first-round pick that year. His senior season took a big slump. Now, Andre Carter is a huge defensive end as well. 6'6", 257. That's another reason why I also love this guy, because I love big defensive ends. He's 25 years old, so decently young. From Army. This is his second year in the league. Did not have any he had a half a sack in the preseason with the Raiders. I remember this. He signed with the Vikings as a UDFA in 2023. Had 12 tackles, no sacks. And then in 2024, he went to the Raiders, played 3 games, had 1 tackle and a half a sack in the regular season. And then, like I said, had a half a sack in this preseason. Take a look at his college stats. His first season had a 1 sack, a forced fumble, and an interception. His sophomore season that was. 44 tackles, 15 and a half sacks, which was, I think it was second that year in all of college football. 4 forced fumbles and an interception. And then 2022, like I said, his junior season, he did take a slump where he ended up having 37 tackles was all and 3 sacks. So in his 3-year college career, had 95 total tackles, 64 solo, which is quite a bit, 5 passes deflected, 19.5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, and 2 interceptions. So like I said, his production and his film was not nearly as good in 2022. His junior season as it was a sophomore season in 2021 where he had 15.5 sacks. But 2021, coming from Army, by the way, who typically doesn't have as many great players coming out as a lot of other small colleges. A lot of small colleges don't have a lot of great players coming out, but Army especially is one that doesn't, from what I've watched from film when it comes to stuff like that. Andre Carter, though, was one of those few exceptions, having 15.5 sacks and 4 forced fumbles that season. That's the film, obviously, I really, really liked. But even his down year in 2022, I really, really liked this film. I didn't watch much film of him in 2021, but I watched still a decent amount of this film in 2022. Still didn't think it was horrible. So I really like the signing of Andre Carter. Again, he's going to be a practice squad defensive end. He did not get elevated for week 1, but I think this guy, at worst, has the potential to be a great depth defensive end for the Detroit Lions on the 53-man roster. A good third, four-string defensive end for the Lions at some point this season. So I really do like the signing. Now, the other Lions signings that they have made, I think they made 2 more. Yes, they made 2 more since the last time I got in front of here. And that is that they have been assigned, who I talked about earlier, they've been assigned safety Thomas Harper from the Raiders through waivers. Now the Lions were 28th in the waiver wire. Now Thomas Harper was a UDFA from last season, and Thomas Harper made quite a bit of an impact on the field for UDFA safety last season. Was with the Raiders, 5'10", 195, was from Notre Dame, 24 years old, so very young. Hold on, I got a cough here for a minute. But he was very young, had 13 solo tackles, an interception, and 2 passes deflected last season. And again, that was his only season. Also had 26 tackles, missed 2 games as well. I don't know if that was with an injury or not. Also had a fumble recovery. So Thomas Harper here, take a look at his college stats. Not much. All right, went to Oklahoma State. His first season, his first 4 seasons, did nothing his first year. 26 tackles, 30 tackles the second year, and an interception. Third season, Oklahoma State, 20 tackles and a forced fumble. 2022, his final season, Oklahoma State, 30 tackles and a pick. And probably his best year was when he transferred to Notre Dame in 2023 to play an extra season of college football where he had 39 total tackles, 3 passes deflected, 2 sacks, and a forced fumble. So Thomas Harper, I really do like this signing. I took a little bit look at his film as well. Not as much as I did when going back to look at Andre Carter. But Thomas Harper, I do like the signing as well from the film I watched so far. Good special team safety. I honestly would not be surprised if they choose him over Daniel Thomas tomorrow when it comes to the 48-man game day roster. And he's also very athletic, very quick. And I think his awareness coming to the ball is very good as well. So I got to watch more film of him, but from right now, I've really liked what I've seen. Now, the other part that the Lions signed, don't know if I like it as much. I'm going to be completely honest with you. And that is that they have signed. They were looking to add a third quarterback to the practice squad, and they did just that by signing veteran quarterback C.J. Beathard. And in that process, they released defensive end Isaac Ukwu. Now, releasing Isaac Ukwu, I don't mind that at all. I know some Lions fans hate that. I really don't. And trust me, I'm all over the defensive end position. Watch the Zadarius Smith video with the reaction to him getting signed. But Isaac Ukwu, you watch the film, he's not consistent. He had 1 good preseason game. The other 3 were not good. He doesn't have much power to him. He relies more on finesse than power, and his finesse just doesn't work most of the time. And his power, when he does rely against it, gets shut down 90% of the time. He's not a good defensive end. He has so much to work on in the run game and in the pass game, and work on his consistency as well. I don't mind that he would. I expected him to be one of the possible players to get released with the C.J. Beathard edition, and he was. I would like to have the Lions add another defensive end. Nate Lynn, please, he's still out there, but Isaac Ukwu, I understand that. I don't mind it. Now, C.J. Beathard, go ahead and take a look at his stats here. I've never really watched C.J. Beathard's film prior to this. like at all. I've never really even considered the Lions to sign him as a backup quarterback, but or as a third string quarterback. But I knew who he was, obviously. But I never really took a look at his film. And man, I watched this film. We'll go over his stats here first. Last played in 2023, was drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in the third round, 104 in 2017. A little bit undersized, 6'2", 215, but he looks like he's 6'6", 250 pounds playing out there. I don't know, he's got a weird body build when you watch him on film. 31 years old, turning 32 in November. College was from Iowa. And his first year with the Niners, 7 games played, 4 touchdowns, 6 picks, 19 sacks taken, 54.9% completion percentage. 2018, 6 games played, 60.4% completion percentage, 8 touchdowns, 7 picks, sacked 18 times. 2020, 6 games played, final year with the Niners, 6 touchdowns, no picks, sacked 9 times. So that was the best season of his career, also 63.5% completion percentage. 2021, first year with the Jags, 2 games played, no stats, only 2 for 2 on completions. 2022, second year with the Jags, 4 games played, 63.6% completion percentage, 1 interception, 0 touchdowns, sacked 1 time. And then 2023, I think he did start 1 game with the Jaguars, playing 7 total games, starting 1 of them, 40 completions, 53 attempts, 75.5% completion percentage, 1 touchdown, no picks, sacked 6 times. So in his 6-year NFL career, 32 games played, he was on bouncing off practice squads last season. I think he was on, I want to say, the Dolphins practice squad at one point last season. I think he was also on the Jags practice squad at a point last season. So he's primarily going to be a practice squad quarterback at this point in his career. 32 games played, 60.4% completion percentage, 19 touchdowns, 14 picks, 53 sacks taken, with his best season coming in 2020. Rushing, he had quite a bit of rushing yards his first season, 136 yards, 5.2 yards per carry, and 3 touchdowns. Decent little rushing season the second year, and after that he's taken a dip. So CJ Beathard, stats might not be horrible for a third-string quarterback, but man, when you watch the film, oh my God, he looks like Nate Sudfeld. His film, if you put CJ Beathard in a Lions jersey and the exact same number as Nate Sudfeld and change the nameplate to Sudfeld, I would not be able to tell the difference. I would literally not be able to tell the difference. He exactly acts like Nate Sudfeld. He forces throws. I don't even know, man. He forces throws. He's inaccurate. When he does force throws, he's insanely inaccurate. Even when he doesn't force throws, he's insanely inaccurate. Always, he might hit the player. The player might catch the ball, but it's not on the money every time. There's just something about CJ Beathard when watching the film that just gives me Nate Sudfeld vibes. Now, I guarantee the guy's a better quarterback than Nate Sudfeld. Nate Sudfeld is arguably the worst quarterback I've ever seen. It's either him or Tim Boyle. But CJ Beathard, I don't know, man. The film, I know the stats. Obviously, he's thrown more touchdowns than picks in his career. Former third-round pick. That's a good thing. But the fact that he looks like Nate Sudfeld on film is a bad thing. But that's the only move I don't really like here that the Lions have made. So let's talk about the game here real quick, and then we'll wrap this video up. When it comes to the game, a lot of things I'm looking for in this game. I'm looking for the offensive line. That's the first thing I'm going to be paying attention to, obviously, besides the defensive line. But the offensive line is the first after the defensive line that I'm looking for in this game. Specifically the interior. Mahogany and Ratledge and Glasgow as well. Now, Glasgow was the starting center for the Lions, I think, in 2018. And he's played center a lot throughout his NFL career. I think Glasgow, at worst, is going to do just as bad as he did last season at guard. So I'm not really too concerned about Glasgow like that. I'm more concerned. I arguably think that Graham Glasgow is a better center than guard. Like, legitimately, you watch his 2023 film at center, it was great. It was honestly great. So, but Mahogany and Tate Ratledge, really going to be curious how they end up playing. Tate Ratledge has had a pretty decent camp, it sounds like, and Mahogany's had a great camp. So I'm looking forward to that. I think our offensive line is going to hold up pretty well this game, even with the Packers do acquire Micah Parsons. And I haven't talked about that at all. I hate it. I think Jerry World absolutely got robbed. I know Micah Parsons dealing with the injury. He's going to be active for this game. But he's going to be on a snap count, it sounds like, on a pitch count. But, oh, man, I hate it. 2 first-round picks and Kenny Clark. I absolutely hate it. I mean, like, That's less than the Stafford trade, which is understandable. But at the same time, I feel like they should have got a pick, not Kenny Clark. I mean, obviously that's good for us, but like for the Cowboys, I don't understand why they want a 32-year-old defensive tackle, 31 like he is, who's on the decline of his career. But whatever, I hate the acquisition by the Packers. Makes their defensive line going from average to one of the best in the league. So even though their interior takes a huge hit with losing Kenny Clark, even though he's declining at this point of his career, but hate it. But he's going to be playing on a pitch count. But they got Rashawn Gary, they got Lucas Van Ness, who's not lived up to his first round pick where he was taken, but he's still a decent depth defensive end, which is what he's going to be now. They still got Devontae Wyatt over there, so they got some players on that defensive line that's going to make an impact, even with Micah Parsons only being on a pitch count. So I'm looking forward to the offensive line. I think it's going to hold up pretty well. Defensive line, really paying attention to it. Specifically, if Marcus Davenport can play 3 snaps and not 2, that's specifically what I'm looking forward to, all right? In the story there. I'm also looking for Tyrus Wheat. If he can do anything, there's a chance he's not even healthy. He's healthy scratch tomorrow, and he doesn't even play. I would not be shocked. I do expect him to play, though. He's a bigger defensive end, could probably move into the interior a little bit. So I would not be surprised if he plays tomorrow or does not play, but I'm curious to see if he plays on the edge or in the interior or both. Al-Qadim Muhammad, I'm curious to see if he'll be the starting defensive end after Davenport gets hurt after 2 plays, or if it'll be Charles Wheat or Derek Barnes, who is a linebacker but can play edge. And then I'm curious if Zach Cunningham is going to get more reps or Grant Stewart when it comes to the linebacker room on the defensive side of the ball, or maybe they only give those reps to Jack Campbell, Alex Anzalone, and Derek Barnes. Derek Barnes, though, last season when he was playing, was primarily rushing the passer, doing an okay job at it. So I would not be surprised if that's the reason why the Detroit Lions is not bringing a guy like Zadarius Smith back. Because of that, obviously, I don't understand that. Derek Barnes is a linebacker, is rushing the passer, does an okay job at it for a linebacker, but like if he was a defensive end, he'd suck at it. So that's kind of how I look at it. But when it comes to the linebacker room, it looks okay. And the cornerback room, I'm really looking forward to if they can stay healthy. But it looks really good right now. It's just going to depend on what's going to look like in multiple weeks. And I'm curious what safeties are going to be active, and if any of those safety, Daniel Thomas or Thomas Harper, will get any playing time tomorrow. So leave your thoughts in the comments down below. I don't give score predictions. You guys know this if you've been watching me. I don't want to say if we win or lose this game. I'm going to be honest. I think this is going to be one of the multiple tough opponents this year we're going to have to face, especially Micah Parsons. I think we do end up getting the win. I do think I do have us predicting a couple losses this year. This is not one of them, but I do have some losses that I will predict this year. I do not predict the scores. That's what I meant. But the games I do predict. And I do think we win this game by a slight amount. I don't know by what the amount will be. A couple field goals, touchdown, or a field goal. Probably one of those 3. But yeah, looking forward to it at Lambeau. I believe it's the America's Game of the Week. We got Tony Romo and Jim Nantz, in my opinion, probably my favorite announced team in the whole entire NFL. But we do have a bad ref. We got Clete Blakeman, who did the Packers game a couple years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long. I think it's been 7 years now. With the Trey Flowers, illegal use of the hands to the face, 2 of them that ended up sealing the game for Mason Crosby to kick it to win the game-winning field goal. But hopefully he doesn't do that again. So, one Pride Go Lions. I cannot believe football is back. It is here. Sundays are going to be so much better. The weekends are going to be so much better. Hope you're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. One Pride Go Lions. If you do score predictions, which obviously I don't, but if you do, leave them in the comments down below. Also, leave your thoughts about the roster moves and what you expect in the game down below. So, one Pride Go Lions. Football is here, man. I cannot believe it. Football is absolutely back. One Pride, Go Lions.